Hey everybody, Kevin here. Happy to be joined today by Red Sox beat reporter for the Lawrence Eagle Tribune and let me make sure I get this right. CNHI Sports Boston. Matt, thanks for joining me.
Hey, how's it going, Kevin?
Good. Let me ask you the question that if either one of us had the answer to would be at a higher pay rate. Let's put it that way. What the hell's going on down at Fenway Park? It sounds like there's everything's starting to come apart at the seams. What are you hearing?
Well, it certainly doesn't look good. The last 2 weeks, if they could have gone any worse, I don't know how much worse they could have possibly gone. 4-10 in those last 2 weeks against the Yankees and the Rays. Losing Chris Sale like that is just like, man, like you just got to shake your head. You can't even chalk that up to him being injury prone, and that's just unbelievably unlucky, right? Like, just the poor guy is just snake bit or something. But it is what it is. If he is able to come back this season, I doubt it personally. He underwent finger surgery, and I'm no doctor, but the description of the surgery didn't sound like the kind of thing that's just gonna blow over anytime soon. If he comes back, it'll be for like the very, very end of the season and the playoffs, and I wouldn't count on that. It's tough. Like, the Red Sox are not in a very good place. They are, other than Sale getting healthy though. They have a really tough couple of weeks coming up against all playoff teams. And it's pretty obvious at this point that if they want to make anything of this season, they either need to add help at the trade deadline, or they just need to accept that they're just not. This isn't going to be it. And if they go that way, we could see a pretty epic sell-off. So, which way will it go? I don't know.
Do you think that they are actually considering taking offers for? I know Bogaerts is the assumed one that would be moved. If it seems like they're a world apart as far as a contract is concerned. Sounds like Bogaerts would take somewhat of a hometown discount. I don't think he's going to give away the farm, but it's pretty much understood they would take calls on him. Do you think they'd actually take calls on Devers too?
I suppose it's possible. I don't think so, though. First of all, they have until after next season before they would need to move him, or rather before he hits free agency. So it seems a little premature. That being said, I suppose anything's possible, but I would think if they were to really decide, like, we're just going to sell, they have a lot of free agents, a lot of valuable pending free agents who would theoretically it would make more sense to move players like Bogaerts, JD Martinez, Nathan Eovaldi, Christian Vasquez, Jackie Bradley Jr., Kike Hernandez, Michael Wacha, Rich Hill. Most goes on. All of those players are set to hit free agency. It's unlikely that they'll all remain with the team going forward. So who knows? But Devers, I don't think he'll be traded at the deadline. If they couldn't reach a deal with him over the offseason, then maybe they could see sort of a Mookie Betts or Andrew Benintendi type thing in like February. I hope it doesn't come to that, but yeah, I would be very surprised if he is moved at the deadline. It just seems too premature.
Now, what have you gleaned from this first half? Obviously they had that horrendous start. People weren't paying much. They were really lucky because when they were playing that poorly, people were paying attention to the Celtics and somewhat the Bruins, and they had that cover that came out. They had that great June. Things looked, they were beating up on the dregs of society pretty much. But, you get into July, I'm looking at it now, they're 5-12. They look like they started the break a week early. Let's say you're talking to one of those people that's on the bridge right now, about to jump off the Tobin. What do you feel good about them leaving the break and heading into these next 2 weeks?
Well, first of all, they're only 2 games out of a playoff spot. So it's not like we're talking about some kind of, they've played horribly and they're only 2 games out. Literally all it takes is they could sweep the Blue Jays this weekend and bang, everyone's feeling good all of a sudden. Will they? Evidence this season suggests that they, as constructed, are not as good as the Yankees, the Blue Jays, or the Rays. because they've been consistently beaten up by those teams. They've also blown some winnable games. Had a few of those gone the other way, who knows? This team is obviously flawed. This team has also rarely been complete. With Eovaldi and Whitlock back, which they are, we saw them, both of them returned over the weekend. That'll help a lot. You know, when they get Trevor Story back, they really look like they dodged a bullet there. He could return. I think he's eligible to come off the injured list on Sunday. That's another big help. You know, and then, you know, Rich Hill and Wako, it doesn't sound like should be gone for too much longer either. You know, I think really, like, if you want to, like, be talked off the edge, like, we've seen that the Red Sox, you know, even like a weakened version, are still good enough to beat up on the bad teams. They're not a bad team. They're certainly, at the very least, a contending team. But we haven't really seen them whole against good teams yet. So I want to see what they look like, you know, the next couple weeks, maybe in August, you know, with kind of all their horses in the barn. I mean, let's face it too. They've done all of July so far with 4 rookies out of the 5 rotation spots, and Pivetta has stunk. I mean, what do you expect? Like, it's not really a surprise that the wheels have fallen off, really. So, you know, you'd think, like, once they kind of get healthy, maybe we'll start seeing some better results. And if they don't, well, at least the very least, then we'll know for sure what we're dealing with.
What do you think if let's say they come out of the break and they're looking pretty good? Let's say they win the first, or in the process of winning the first 2 series out of the gate. So now they're buyers. If they turn into buyers, what do you think they're looking for? A first baseman, obviously. You're obviously always looking for an arm. But what caliber of player do you think they'd be looking for if they're shopping?
Yeah, so I have a story coming out on Friday that sort of addresses the different paths they could take. So there's this would cover 2 or 3 of the 5 paths, which are, one, they could go all in which case they really just go for it and they trade for a top of the line starter like Luis Castillo or whoever would be considered the top bat on the market. I don't consider that to be very likely. Path 2, which I think is much more likely, would be more of what you're talking about, which would be you add like adding Kyle Schwarber last year, or, you know, Austin Davis and Hansel Robles last year. We left the deadline being like, is that going to be enough? Is that good enough? Turns out it was better than nothing. Schwarber helped a lot. So you could add some pieces like this, whoever this year's version of Schwarber is. I think they owe it to themselves to go out and find somebody who could make a real impact. Somebody like, and preferably a first baseman or an outfielder, maybe both. Certainly a right-handed bat. They could really use one. They need another right-handed reliever. Starting pitching wise, I don't see it. I think, you know, that it's going to be too expensive to land anybody who could make a real impact. But there's no shortage of options. Path 3 would be also a similar approach, but also selling off some of the guys I mentioned before. So basically, you could say trade Waka and bring in a starting pitcher with multiple years of team control. So it's almost a wash, but you're actually helping the short and the long term. Maybe you could trade, you know, I don't know who'd take Kike in his current state right now, or Jackie Bradley, but, you know, move some of those guys out. Just be like, all right, we're going to ride with Duran, Ref Snyder, and whichever outfielder we traded a separate deal. And now we're kind of a little bit better short for long term. Path 4 would be a full sell-off, in which case everybody goes. And Path 5 is like the Red Sox just get super weird and trade for Juan Soto, which isn't going to happen, but it's a really fun.
It'd be so much more fun to be dreaming about that right now.
Well, imagine that. I mean, like, come on, like it's not going to happen, so it's barely worth mentioning. But like, how wild would it be if they traded for Juan Soto? Like, that would pretty much solve all. Like, it would smash every expectation we have in the club, and like, you know, it would take a lot. Like, you know, you're talking most, if not all, of the top prospects are out the door, and probably, I mean, I would think somebody like Devers or a big league player of his caliber too. But then you're just like, oh, now we have a 23-year-old Hall of Famer, and if we can sign him, like, you know, like, talk about building for the future. Having somebody like Juan Soto is kind of having your cake and eating it too. So it's crazy to imagine, but it actually does make a lot more sense once you kind of suspend the disbelief. You know what I mean?
Now, the guys that made it to LA for the All-Star game, they were pretty vocal about they wanted to add to this team. And Alex Cora has been constantly saying that he needs help. He talked about it again a couple days ago. So what do you think the mood is coming into that clubhouse? I mean, he's got to basically take the reins and say, look, guys, our jobs are at stake, or however you want to put it. If you want to keep this team together, we just got up and play well. Do you think it could go south from there, from what those guys said when they were out at the All-Star game?
I mean, I don't know if it would really have any impact on what they said. I mean, I think they're just being honest. Everybody can see that this team needs more help. Like, if they were trying to, if they were, what was? Let's put it the other way. What if they said, "Oh yeah, we're good enough to win"? Like, it's pretty obvious that they're not. Like, they're not stupid. Like, they know that they need help. Bogarts knows, like, the roster as currently constructed is not good enough to win a World Series. He's won 2 World Series. He knows what a World Series championship roster looks like. Devers, he obviously was here at 18. So I think they know, they understand that the chips are down. Like, they need to play better. And if they don't, then, not only is the help not coming, like, it's all going. It's all like the second half could get really ugly. Or at the very least, we could just be seeing a lot more of Jeter Downs in the infield. Like,
right. As long as we don't see Bobby Dahlbach going down the stretch, it's been tough. I mean, he's had a tough stretch. It's kind of sad when you think about it. I mean, he showed flashes, but it's been difficult to watch him play, especially when he gets at bat and he looks like me. What are your thoughts on how? Will they bring all the kids up if they trade away the house? They keep Devers. Do you think it's just we're going to see the Worcester roster?
Well, it's funny. I mean, how many of their best players so far have already come from Worcester? Schreiber, Duran, and Refsnyder both have been. Maybe your mileage may vary at certain points, but they've been productive. Franchi Cordero, well, lately he's been pretty bad, but compared to what they got from Travis Shaw early, a lot of their most impactful players have been from within. I think Tristan Cassius's injury has proven problematic. He only just recently finally came back from that sprained ankle he suffered a couple of months ago, and I mean, if he's playing every day, I think he's their starting first baseman right now. Like, he would certainly have been called up. He certainly probably would have supplanted Cordero as sort of the left-handed option, and that stinks. Like, that was a big option that, frankly, I don't see it happening yet. Maybe if he does well in the next month or so, maybe he becomes a September call-up. But by then, it's kind of the haze in the barn, one way or the other. At that point. I mean, let's face it. Like, we already kind of seen all the help that's coming. Like, Jeter Downs is already up. Duran's been up for a while. Like, the injuries, the whole AAA rotation is basically in the majors already, or at least they have, at one point or another. So I don't know. I guess it depends on, do you like what you've seen? Do you want to see more of those guys? I think we've seen pretty clearly that you're not winning a World Series if all of them are playing important roles. It doesn't mean they're not good players. They're just not ready yet. Like, you gotta. It's not what you need if you expect to contend in 2022. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe Jay Groom will get called up eventually. He just got moved to AAA. So, maybe there's some other guys, but I do feel like at this point, it's obvious that the magic bullet's not coming from AAA. They've pretty close to exhausted all their options there.
Now, one last question as we go into it's Toronto. They start out Toronto, right? Tomorrow night.
They're home against Toronto.
Sorry,
yeah.
Friday. Yeah. What is your if you had to put a percentage on it? First of all, start with Devers. 2 years from now, do they get a deal done between now and February on Devers?
And you want odds?
Yeah. What would your gut tell you right now?
About like 30-70 that they have a deal. I think there's a decent chance that they sign him, but I think there's a better chance that we're kind of in limbo, coming into spring training next year. The word is basically that the Red Sox have kind of tried to compare him as a player to Matt Olson, who signed for $168 million for 8 years. That ain't going to cut it. So who knows? I mean, or we learned is in fact actually is a decent defensive third baseman back in the offseason. We all certainly did not think that. His bat is terrific. He's just finally kind of breaking through nationally. People respect him. He's, God, like think of all the stuff he's already accomplished. He's only 25 years old. He's a guy that they should build around for sure. I think deep down they know it, but this is a high stakes negotiation. Both sides are going to try to kind of put out their tough face, their so to speak. I think eventually there's a better chance than not they'll figure something out, but we have to be realistic that the Red Sox track record with these kind of things isn't great. So we'll see.
Now I'm assuming that you'd put a lower number on Bogaerts being here next season.
I think the chances that he hits free agency are very high. Once he's there, he loves Boston. So I wouldn't rule out the possibility he could come back. I don't think he'll be traded. And if he's not traded and he hits free agency, I think there's actually a pretty good chance he does come back. But it's not as good a chance as probably it should be. They should have. This is another situation that probably should have just been handled a little bit better this past off season. The report was basically they kind of they super lowballed him too, and that's too bad. But kind of it is what it is.
Well, thanks again for taking some time out while you have some time down, which is not very frequently this time of year. So thanks again, Mac. Tell the fellas or tell the folks that are listening where they can get you on Twitter or any of the social media.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Mac Cerullo, MacCerullo. And my DMs are open, so if you want to hit me up, that's a good place to reach out. Just, whatever, thoughts you might have. And, you can read me in the Eagle Tribune, the Daily News and Newbury Report, the Salem News, Gloucester Daily Times, and all of those websites. And, should be a good second half. Hopefully the next 2 or 3 weeks are interesting and exciting in a way that doesn't depress everybody, because I like it when the team does better, like the players and the coaches and everybody's in a better mood, the fans are in a better mood. When things go south, I start getting people reaching out to me. You wouldn't believe the takes people have. Like everybody generally, it's better for everybody if they do well. So we'll have an exciting couple of weeks and months ahead of us.
Well, one thing for sure, you're certainly going to be busy for the next foreseen future. So thanks again for taking some time. Enjoy the time with your family, and look forward to talking again soon.
Thanks. I'll catch you later.
All right, take care.